Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 85 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. I'm James Parsi here with my co-host Aiden Sarah, and we are into the third round of the NHL playoffs. Conference finals are officially underway. I believe the Carolina Hurricanes and Florida Panthers are just into the second period now, Aiden?
2-1 Florida, just past the 3 minute mark of the second, as we're recording this, which I always like to establish is the evening of Tuesday, May 20th. So we are indeed just getting into the conference finals. And James, it's Oilers Stars tomorrow. How's things been?
Things have been good, man. I had one of my best friends and his girlfriend who I was meeting for the first time come and stay with me. They came over from Peterborough, Ontario. She's a born and bred Torontonian, and he's kind of a heart of Ontario country boy kind of thing. And just, fantastic, like heart and soul people, great folks. They came and stayed with us. We went for a nice meal at the Tap and Barrel at Brentwood, watched the Leafs game. We went and, which we will get to, of course. That's probably one of the biggest topics of this podcast, unfortunately. We went and saw John Summit, the EDM artist I see quite a bit. He was playing at the PNE Forum as part of an event called Foundation, which is appropriately named because it's all house music centered, so the foundation of a home kind of thing. It's pretty
Nice.
cool. Yeah, incredibly well put together. Like Blueprint did a phenomenal job of dressing up the PNE Forum fantastically. Because I've seen some of the outdoor concerts that the PNE puts on over the years, and the stage is set up okay. It kind of feels cheap, but this is probably the best stage I've ever seen set up in Vancouver outside of BC Place and Rogers Arena.
Interesting.
Like
Gotcha.
in terms of an outdoor setup, it was absolutely phenomenal. The sound was great. People were great. The crowd was awesome. Yeah, I really loved what I saw. And I mean, relatively affordable event. And they brought in like John Summit is a Grammy nominated artist, and he is kind of on like a meteoric rise over the past 2 years. So it's pretty cool to get him in a one-off event, something that's not like a major thing. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Got a little date night, half off pizza and wine Wednesday tomorrow with the
Nice.
girlfriend. Yeah, the Italian spot near my place has that. So that's a pretty sweet little feature we're gonna go for. And then I believe um my buddy and his girlfriend come back next weekend. We're gonna go have a couple little sushi spots because people from Ontario recognize the greatness that is Vancouver's sushi scene. And Aiden, you lived out of Vancouver for a while. You know what it's like to not have our sushi.
Yeah, and not only is it so much worse, like the law of supply and demand obviously dictates that it becomes also way more expensive the farther you get
Oh
from
yeah.
the supply we have here, right? So not only is it a huge step down, but you're paying crazy prices too. At least where
Catch
I
me
was.
never living in a place that's landlocked ever. I will
Oh,
never do that. I've never lived more than 20K away from oceans and lakes at the same time.
I mean, I've been obsessed for about 6 weeks now with moving to coastal Denmark. So I can,
That's cool.
yeah, I could at the very, very least like empathize with that sentiment.
Well, what's new with you, fella? Give us the Aiden update.
So much hockey, so much hockey's happening in every capacity. And we are getting to that point, James, where I talk about getting hockeyed out, but my season at least is over. So the hockey that I get to focus on is you and I putting our feet up and enjoying a Stanley Cup final that I kind of want to lead with asking you about. Well, not necessarily. I'd like, as we're now into the conference finals, for you to give me a current who you want to win the cup and who you think will win the cup out of the remaining four teams.
I want the Dallas Stars to win, and the Florida Panthers are going to win. I want the Dallas Stars to win because at this point, when you don't have a dog in the fight, you cheer for players. Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn, would love to see Tyler Seguin at another one. Like it's And then the young guys on that squad too. You think about a Wyatt Johnson, you think about a Maverick Bork, a Thomas Harley. This is the kind of thing that a Jake Ottinger. This is the kind of thing that cements them as winners from here on out. And then Mikko Rantanen, of course, like I'm not just gonna stop wanting the guy to succeed. I've been a fan of him since his rookie year, and I probably always will be. Yeah, you know what? I didn't want him to score all those goals against my team. But since then, the guy has just gone like eternal beast mode. And yeah, I he's like Darth Vader on the ice. It's nuts. It's gross. So I mean, you got to keep cheering for that. And I'll close with I'm honestly just really sick of the Oilers. Their games are so predictable that I'm bored. Like, and they're predictably exciting, which makes me hate that I'm bored. But I talked about this last pod. I'm just over it. Can you just win a game by sustaining a lead or lose a game by never having the lead? Can we just have a game where both teams actually play good defense? I would love to see that. That would be phenomenal hockey. You know, if it's the Hurricanes and the Oilers and it's a rematch of a Stanley Cup final from 19 years ago, that was a defensive war with like it just warriors on the ice trying to do anything to stop each other from getting to the net. Whereas now it's like, oh, you want a breakaway? Don't worry, I'll have a breakaway later. You can have this breakaway. So I don't want to see the Oilers. In fact, I want to see them get swept. Now they're going to win the series, but I'm over it. I'm just so done with them.
I understand what you're saying. The fact that Edmonton's fate like kind of rests in Calvin Pickard's health is funny.
Mm.
Because he's been so much better than Skinner the whole playoffs.
But does it
I
matter who's in that?
I think significantly Matthias Ekholm isn't starting that series. I still want Edmonton to win. The Connor McDavid factors there. You never know how many opportunities these guys are going to get, and he'd be one of those players where it'd be a travesty for him to retire without a cup ring.
Mhm.
I think Dallas has it, and I would not be upset to see Dallas win for a lot of the same reasons you said regarding the players. Um, no matter what, I do want the winner to come out of the West. I definitely don't want to see Florida win again. Um,
You don't like
Carolina,
dynasties? You
are,
don't you don't like dynasties? You're not into that?
no, man, just no.
No?
Like, and you know what? If it was like a Canadian city who got to have a dynasty, fine. And I
Mm.
know Florida is coming around to hockey, but it's how little I equate the state of Florida with hockey that bumps me a little bit too.
Well,
Um,
go watch all those fans in each and every game. That barn is rocking, and they all are quite interested. And if you pay attention on social media, they do seem to know their stuff.
yeah, and any criticism I'd have about the fans in Florida would just be the same as what happens in Vancouver, where the empty building follows the bad team.
Mhm.
Um, so, I understand what you're saying. Now, we talked about Canadian teams. We talked about the Florida Panthers. You made reference to it off the hop. By the way, really quickly before we get to Florida Toronto, 3-1 Panthers now in this game. Beautiful or two-way passing play, I guess. Thomas Nosek to Nico Mikkola to AJ Greer just made this game 3-1, which I thought was an awesome goal combination randomly in this one. Toronto and Florida, 2-0 Toronto. Game three's in overtime, so we're that close to a 3-0 Leafs series lead.
They were ahead in game three before that.
Yeah, and then even at 2-2, Toronto has home ice advantage for the best of three, and I think that's exactly where we pick off James. Game five in Toronto was the first disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to bury the lead here. It was 6-1 Leafs both times that they played at home, game five and game seven. It was a very dominant game six in their win in Florida there. 4-0 shutout, I believe, or 4-1, something like that. Yeah, 4-0 shutout. Joseph Wall's first career shutout in the playoffs. And you know what? I think I always, as soon as game three turned around like that, I think I always had a feeling it was going to end this way. whether it was game six or game seven. Like after the Panthers won game three, you could just see a change in their facial expressions. And I mean, these guys are warriors. They're proven guys. They know what the hell to do. They know what not to do. They know when to dial in, which is all the time. And not everyone knows that. I wouldn't know that. I'm not an athlete. If I were out on the ice, I wouldn't have that killer instinct. So anything I say from here on out is not an I'm better than these people judgment, by in any way, shape, or form. These are the best of the best, even when they're on a team that consistently lets everyone down. Um, Aiden, I'm kind of gonna rant here, okay? I'm just gonna get off the rails a bit here. This Toronto team, man, I mean, this is the best I've ever seen it built. And I feel like I've had to say that 3 years in a row, but it keeps looking better every year. And it's just that little shred of hope. And I'm not even a Leafs fan. I just cheer for this stupid storyline to end. It's just it looked right. Things looked right. But then even when they look right and they seem right, they just stop working right all at once. Anthony Stolarz gets injured, and all of a sudden, all of them forget that they're in do or die mode. Okay? And then like you have your little highlight moments, your little moments where everything's better. We've recently found out that Matthew's injury from training camp, like everyone suspected, blah 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 blah. Everybody's injured. You know what? Everybody is injured. I can't wait to see what the Florida Panthers laundry list of injuries looks like. They're gonna have 20 of them, maybe per guy. But they're all going out there and they're all doing it. They're all probably getting shot up with Toradol and going out there and doing things. But you know what? This is the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the protein shake commercial Maple Leafs. This is the we are really cool and stylistically inclined Maple Leafs. These are like the basically the desperate housewives of Toronto. And whereas the Florida Panthers are Duck Dynasty. Like you're going out and you're doing something with a mission and an objective. You know what? Both those shows are awful, and I didn't watch either of them. If those references are way off, my bad. I don't really care though, because you got it anyway. But even worse than the Toronto Maple Leafs and their collapses repeatedly. I'm going to dive into a little bit more details and semantics, but I have to get this part out of the way first. Their fans are such a joke. And I'm not saying if you're a Leafs fan, you're a joke, but like the fact that they go from, okay, you know what, guys, end of the first period, we're down a bit, but we're cheering you on, go Leafs, go, we're chanting, to like one thing goes wrong, they just start booing like crazy. And you can't even say, oh, it's because of 60 years of futility, blah, 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 blah. No, most of the people in this barn weren't even alive or cared about anything that was happening before the year 2000. Like, it's not relevant. You could say that for 85% of the NHL, and their fans aren't doing this garbage, even in big markets. And then they start whipping jerseys on the ice and beer cans on the ice. Like, go home. You do not belong at a sporting event. Watch from home, maybe even in a padded panic room, as you clearly should not be out in public. That is the biggest lack of maturity I've ever seen. If anyone were ever to do that at a game I'm at, seated next to me, I would probably start yelling at them. And I'm not a confrontational guy. Grow up, go home.
Really quick, what bothered me the most was the during play. I think
Oh
Cuthbert
my
and Simpson
God.
even made a point about how often you have whether it be players or officials skating backwards, and both the possibility of being struck and then
Mhm.
being injured as a result of the debris on the ice is there. Um,
Um,
that bothered me the most. Like all the things you're saying is correct, but that was the thing that pissed me off the most.
Next things up. I have two or three more things on my list. And I will say also, I was exhausted after work today, and I quickly had a cold shower and made myself a very strong coffee because I knew I needed energy for this rant because I had a lot of points to get across. I don't even have them all across yet, but I'm still like I'm committed to delivering this message. All right, next up, the Leafs depth, which I love defensively on paper in a way, because you have Simon Benoit, fantastic. Bring him back. He is great. He's awesome. Chris Tanev played great. Loved everything I saw. Okay, he's not a superstar. I mean, like he did his job. Like I felt he did everything he needed to do. But like Morgan Riley being a good two-way defenseman doesn't mean he's a game-breaking, opportunistic offensive D that can be trusted with that all the time. Oliver Ekman-Larsson filled in some spots, but also I'm exaggerating here. He's 30,000 years old. Why does this team, unlike every other team in the NHL, not have some smooth skating under 27-year-old defenseman who puts things together on the power play and adds some creativity and gets things up to your forwards? Why are you not getting pucks up to your forwards? It's like as soon as your defensemen get it, they know how to get it out, but they cannot set up a play in any pressure situations. I love Jake McCabe. I like I I I'm not complaining about these players, but there's clearly missing things. And this is just another reason to overcorrect and make excuses because before, when they had a bunch of puck moving opportunistic defensemen, it was we need to get bigger and beefier and stronger. And then, okay, now the depth. This is a three-part thing, Aiden. I'm not doing the goalies because none of this is their fault. Stolarz got injured and Wall tried his best. And I think both of them are great goalies. And given a different situation, they probably would have done fine. Okay, now their depth forwards. I am among everyone that was fooled into thinking that the moves they made were going to be extremely beneficial. I was not impressed by Brandon Carlo. He was okay. They paid a lot to get him.
Yeah,
But
listen,
then Scott Lawton.
I
Scott
did.
Lawton was supposed to be the X factor for me, and that was not a thing. He was a counter to a lot of the things the Florida Panthers have. I think Scott Lawton has just as much game in the NHL as Anton Lundell, but he did not bring any of that whatsoever. And but it's not just his fault. You really think one guy that's supposed to be trusted with all this is suddenly just going to bring it when there's maybe three or four guys in that locker room who acted like they had any shred of a killer instinct the entire series. Now, the Lawton thing kind of speaks for the rest of their depth forwards. I really liked Holmberg. Holmberg was solid. Pacioretty was that veteran that you need that scores the big goal here and there. Every team that wins the cup has one of those. It's just a thing. Those were the right pieces. But my favorite part. Let's get to where we had the wrong pieces. Now, a lot of very uneducated Leafs fans really, really like being like, well, Tavares is really old and good thing he's expiring. You know what? He had 74 points in 75 games. He's the only one of your forwards who scored a power move to the net that wasn't off of a pretty passing play. The guy actually is complete nails to the rest of the people on this team who are just butter. All right. Mitch Marner. I am when he was screaming wake the F up. God, I wish we could swear on here, but we don't. When
It
he was
just takes
screaming that
one.
at the
Just
yeah, when he was screaming that at the bench, it's really, really ironic because I think he was more yelling at himself, which is fair. I've yelled at myself before and projected on others, but you're a professional athlete in a high pressure situation and you're screaming at the bench, wake up when you haven't been awake for most of this series. Um, I'm not going to repeat all of Mitch Marner's playoff stats and game seven stats, but even me, who's not a Leafs hater in any way, shape, or form, thinks they're hilarious. And the fact that this guy is going to make upwards of $13 million in free agency astounds me. I have never been a huge fan. Him widowy doing to Gwitty on the ice, that killed it for me. Some of my friends were like, "Oh, the Four Nations stuff. This kind of redeems it for me." No, that was a band-aid. I am so sick of him, and I can't wait for Chicago or Detroit or Anaheim to have a $14 million anchor ruin your transition into superstardom. William Nylander is sick. He had a couple bad breaks. Max Domi should come back, but he shouldn't have to be the person who's your savior. Your top dogs aren't top dogs except for Nylander, but he can't be the only one who's trying. Um, Final thing on the docket. In game six, the game they ended up winning. Yes. Yeah,
Two
game six.
nothing. It
Yeah,
was 2-0. We had it wrong earlier. It was two
right.
nothing
Yes.
score.
Game six. Early on in the game, Florida's putting some pressure on, and Matthews has a little scrum in the corner. You see, he's in a little bit of discomfort, and the Leafs are getting barraged. It's all Florida for 5 minutes. Matthews just is he's just sitting there stretching, and he's like, yeah, kind of lackadaisical. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the room, get checked out. You're leaving your boys in the middle of the fight, and you're the captain. That is probably the least impressive thing I've ever seen from the captain of any professional sports franchise in playoffs. I don't think he ever should have been given the C. It was just to give some relief to some pissed off fans who were probably really uneducated. I think honestly, don't blow it up. Why wasn't it Morgan Riley if you were going to change it? Or Nylander?
Okay, listen, very quickly, there's a lot that I also have on this.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I think it's stroking a man's ego that desperately needs his ego stroked was that captain thing.
Yeah.
From the bottom of my heart, that's what I believe. I said at
I
the
can't say
time,
that because I don't know him. I can
no,
only
I
speak
know.
on what I can see.
Yeah, and it's obviously speculation, but I thought them taking the captaincy away from Tavares was an absolute joke. Like,
And then I think him getting 74 points in 75 games at his age is a huh, nice.
yeah,
That's fun to do.
he scored more goals than Matthews in like 8 more games, 7 more games.
Yep.
5 more goals than Matthews. And you know what? I don't know if I was going to start with Matthews, but I will now. Every other year, like I made a joke at the start of this season that he was going to play like shit, and it ended up being exactly what happened. And I am so sick of hearing because this is now the fourth consecutive season where this guy has gone from being looking like the best player in the league to looking like a shell of a first line center to looking like the best player in the league to looking like a shell of a second line center. Like it's every other
He's gonna
year.
score 68 goals next year too. Like it's
Yeah,
just
oh exactly. And
we're
that's
we're
what
just gonna keep this stupid trend going.
yeah, and you're absolutely right that a massive, massive problem for Toronto was their superstars. You know how I feel about the Toronto Maple Leafs as a team. I've always been a Marner defender, but
You cannot
no,
defend
the
him.
the way he fell apart in that at the end of the second round, he was fine in round one. William
See, but fine.
Nylander,
That's just
yeah,
fine.
William Nylander has been the best Maple Leaf in the playoffs over the last 5 seasons. I'm not saying necessarily the best in every playoff, but the best overall. Um, Toronto has to do everything in their power to keep Matthew Knies. He's an RFA.
Mhm.
Um, because
I didn't even
again,
I didn't even talk about him because I can only talk about the things I'm pissed off about.
yeah. But even for me, like that's part of it because he was one of a number of players I could probably count on one hand that looked like they cared for the
Mhm.
majority of that. For the majority of the last 5 games, right? They lost 4 of 5 games after Stolars went down. And I'm not going to put anything on Joseph Woll. I still think it's the fault of the leadership and the Maple Leafs that Stolars goes down and it's such a mentally weak group that it just decimates them, right? That's not an excuse. You're right about Scott Lawton not having it. Brandon Carlo had a really, really bad year on a tough Bruins team, but even Toronto should have known this was not, like I said it at the deadline, this is not the Brandon Carlo of years past that they're picking
But
up.
but Aiden, I loved his first round. The first round he was fantastic. But he
And
just lost it in the second round. And I just remember, what has he done in every Bruins playoff must-win game that he's played? It
shown up.
hasn't been good. It hasn't been there. So
Yeah,
you're right. He wasn't the guy. I was sold the farce. He was not the guy.
and you're absolutely right again that neither was Lawton. And it's a group that we've talked about their depth and again, the Bobby McMahon and the Max Domi, they did their job, but you can't
Mm.
be asking those guys to fill what Marner and Matthews are supposed to provide. Like that's not how do you expect to have success when again, Max Domi is one of the only guys that looks like he's skating in the last 3 games of that series.
Bobby
It's
McMahon and Simone Benoit were the only Leafs with more than two shots. in game seven.
I believe it.
It's pathetic.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and
absolutely pathetic.
we haven't even specifically talked about Game 7 yet. Uh, we said that they lost 6-1 in Game 5. That also happened to be the score in Game 7 in Toronto on home ice. It
Oh
was
no, I said it, but it was just mid rant.
okay. Seth Jones, Anton Lundell, and Yona Gadjevich all score in just over 6 minutes in the second period, and the game was over after that. And if it wasn't the fact that Luosterainen scored like what 45 seconds or something after Domi had made it 3-1 in the third, that was like if it wasn't over then, it was it was over after Luosterainen made it 4-1. Um, Marner's not coming back.
Um, okay, I think we should honestly couch the next 5 minutes for talking what changes are going to be made in Toronto because we're going to talk about Florida again for the next month, and it's better to do that now than when it's going to fall on deaf ears in the summer.
Take it away.
I think it's a catastrophic blunder not to have spent the last 2 years with the previous management team and the current management team not exploring every single option to trade Mitch Marner. We've known this for a long time. Every fan has known this for a long time. All the analysts have known this for a long time. And clearly, coaching and management have known this. This is not the guy. He can go dance around for you all regular season long and do a damn good job of it. But when it matters and when it counts, he does not seem to have it. Yes, the Leafs did try to trade him this year. Is that hard to hear? Totally, but it's a business, dude. Get over it. Um, I I really have to pull back and not just talk smack about him because like a lot of the mannerism things and a lot of the comments he makes in interviews it really to me speaks to a lot of emotional immaturity that I can't confirm or deny because I don't know him. I would just be speculating and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But to me, this is just not the guy for your team. And you know what? I don't hate Mitch Marner. I don't hate him in any way, shape, or form. I don't know him personally. I can't say he's a good or bad person, but none of that really matters. The point I'm trying to get to is I hope he can go succeed on another team. That would be really nice. That would be nice for him. It would be nice for his family. He just had his first child born. Like it would be really cool for him to go into fatherhood and later adulthood and be successful and happy and away from the spotlight. I hope the dude signs in Anaheim and has no interruptions from media ever again. There's going to be three journalists in the room after games total. I don't, maybe one of them is going to want to talk to you. The other ones are going to be focused on like someone's new haircut or something. It's Anaheim. Like it's not that big of a deal. Um, but I really think uh they figured out the playing style. I love like in terms of north south, in terms of breakout, in terms of everything. If they hadn't folded like pretzels and if they had stuck to their game, things would have been fantastic. And that's why Brad Treliving and Craig Berube are both going to be back regardless. They're both definitely getting another shot at it. But Aiden, you alluded to this at one point. Brendan Shanahan, president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the one responsible for putting all of this core together. He drafted these guys. He was the one giving the okay to pay these guys. He was the one giving the okay to hire, fire, everything in between. This is his team. This is his project, and he, as president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, will not be back. I like it, it'll be hilarious if he is. And this is no discredit to him and his Hall of Fame career in the world of hockey. The guy was a superstar, but you know, you can go and build a team that's perfect on paper. Um, Probably 15 out of 16 times. And I say that because of the 16 teams that make it to the playoffs every year. It doesn't work. There's one team every year. And it's not to say Brendan Shanahan is a garbage manager, but it just didn't work. And you know what? There wasn't the ability to pull the trigger and say, you know what? Screw it. Let's make a huge change. Dallas just traded away one of their top prospects and a million assets to go get Mikko Rantanen. Toronto tried to do that as well. You can see why.
Carolina did it with Gensel last year too.
Yeah. You have to be ready to pull the chips in, throw them on the table, and say, I will bet you anything. We're doing this. The organization is full of hesitancy. And when that's happening up top, it trickles down. Mic drop.
Okay, I'll make 3 points quickly about Florida and Toronto. First off, per Frank Saravalli, James, which means personally, I always take this with if there could be less or half
No
of a great.
longer of the daily face-off. He's looking for a new job.
Yeah, so unemployed Frank Saravalli said, quote, although unlikely, the Maple Leafs would listen to offers on Austin Matthews. I don't think that's crazy. Again, it's Saravalli. I'll take that with less than a grain of salt. Um,
I guarantee he reached out to management. They said, "Well, we listen to offers on any of our players if it benefits the organization." And he's like, "Whoa, they'd listen to Matthews."
and then 2 major shoutouts from Game 7. Chris Rooney got banged up in a collision in the corner. He had a stick
That's the
right up.
referee.
Yeah, he got a stick right up under his visor and he got cut. Uh, Positive signs afterwards. Warrior, he's going to be okay. He's a vet. Um, Huge to see him end up skating off on his own weight. Didn't need the stretcher, so good to see he was okay after. James, last thing about Panthers Leafs Game 7, Brad Marchand looked like he was 10 years younger than he actually is for pretty much the entire game. He had what, a goal and 2 assists, 3 points. Huge game for him. And you want to talk about additions at the trade deadline that didn't work out in Toronto. He looks like an addition at the trade deadline that is absolutely hitting for the Florida Panthers.
And Aiden, I mean, every little bit further they get into the playoffs here, it's another step closer to the Bruins getting that first round draft pick. I believe they almost have it. Do you remember what that was?
I don't think so because it was like a get to
Oh,
X
yeah, yeah,
stage.
it's nearly a lock. Uh So yeah, Sweeney was super criticized for only getting a second round pick. There were two conditions to make it turn into a first rounder. The Panthers have won 2 playoff series. Now, the second condition is Marchand playing at least 50% of Florida's playoff games this spring. It's pretty much a lock. So the Bruins will be getting a first rounder in 2027. But it is top 10 protected, which doesn't really matter because the Florida Panthers are not going to be a lottery team anytime soon.
Let alone that quick. Like, even if some unforeseen fall off does come, it's not going to be that swift and that quick. It's not like they're Vancouver.
Totally.
Um, that's all I think for that specific series, and we can do the rest in a significantly shorter amount of time, which we're going to try and do. Carolina outclasses Washington, and Edmonton outclass Vegas in 2 different matchups that I thought were going to be a lot closer than they were.
You know, Aiden, I really thought that that Capitals team could have handled just about any other team in playoffs if given the right scenario. But the Carolina Hurricanes were just literally the worst stylistic matchup for them. The Capitals imposing physicality and skill on the forecheck and turning the forecheck into a good cycle. It didn't matter against the buzzsaw that is the transitional Carolina Hurricanes. You don't get a second to breathe. Whereas I feel like the Capitals succeeded a lot this year in overwhelming teams. They didn't get the chance to pick up any of that momentum once. And it was really disappointing. You have to say, I mean, Ovi's already confirmed he's coming back next season. That's already happening. We don't need to worry about that. But This Capitals team had a lot of magic. They were a lot of fun to watch this year. But and I feel I'm partially at fault here because I have been dunking on the Carolina Hurricanes for about a month now and saying I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing them in the third round every year. It's boring. And then everyone else was saying it too. And so I feel like me hopping on that bandwagon created some karma. And I feel bad because it's now my fault that Alex Ovechkin isn't in the playoffs.
Well, and especially like it was a really tight series through two games. It was 1-1 and Carolina's victory came in overtime, but the Hurricanes blew the doors off the Capitals in the
Yep.
last three games of the series. Like they outscored them 12-3 combined in games 3, 4, and 5. Um, on the other side of the 4-1 round two, it's Edmonton Vegas, and even this series, James, like Vegas was lucky to get the win they did. I know two games went to overtime, but I was so underwhelmed with the Golden Knights.
Yeah, man. Their management team has already come out and said number one priority for the offseason is to re-sign Jack Eichel. He's not a pending free agent, but he's up for extension as of July 1st. But William Karlsson, he was their best player in that round. He was incredible to watch. He really, a lot of people are trying to tell me he turned back the clock, but the dude's not old and he hasn't exactly been bad. In fact, I think he's played some of his best hockey in the past couple years. They just have so much depth that you kind of forget he's a key contributor sometimes. And I think it was really good to see him do that, especially when you have guys going down or you have guys underperforming. But I honestly just don't think they were a match for the Dallas Stars. I mean, for the no, sorry, the Dallas Stars, for the Edmonton Oilers. I think a lot of us are really enamored with the blue line that the Vegas Golden Knights had when they won the cup. And it's largely the same. In fact, they even added Noah Hannafin. But I think stylistically, a lot of teams have figured them out a bit. And I think they need to shake things up a bit. Like shaking things up constantly is what made this organization so dangerous at all times. I don't think they I don't think they've done that this year. In fact, they relied on things coming from within. Pavel Dorofeyev was their top goal scorer all year long. They relied a lot on Brett Howden. They needed Jack Eichel to have a damn near MVP. Like he's going to be top 10 in Hart Trophy voting for sure. They needed him to have a damn near MVP level season. And the organizational depth and the willingness to go get another guy and make it a whole party there, that wasn't there. And I feel like that kind of took some of the magic away. Um, Also, I feel like every time Mark Stone goes out of the lineup, it's like it's just debilitating for them now. It's like, really, again? We're doing this again? Props to him for coming back every time, but the guy's had so many injuries, and I don't understand how he keeps doing it.
I wasn't happy Vegas won the cup, but that guy deserved a ring, and I'm happy he got it.
Totally. But I mean, on the Oilers themselves, Aiden, why did they win this series, realistically?
It's the same reason they always win, which is their superstars pulling out the magic from absolutely nowhere.
And
Connor
Corey Perry is
McDavid,
really good.
Corey Perry's playing awesome. McDavid and Draisaitl were amazing. Evan Bouchard wasn't tested very much in this series, but with that being said, he often doesn't need to be tested to make egregious errors. And he didn't really make any in this series. So kudos to Evan Bouchard for being competent in his own zone. And
Speaking of defensemen, though, you spent a lot of time on a couple episodes earlier this season shining a light on what John Klingberg coming to this team could do. And it was a pretty quiet topic for quite a while, and he had a phenomenal second round.
he was
He probably one of, if not their best defenseman that round.
Yeah, and when he signed in Edmonton, we talked about the fact that he even said that it was the best he'd felt in years and that his knee surgery was incredibly close to being fully rehabilitated. And it did look like, again, it was a short amount of time, sure, 5 games, but it looked like the John Klingberg of old. Yeah, I would say that William Karlsson didn't turn back the clock so much as Marchand and Klingberg definitely seemed to in the second round. Big for Edmonton, and yeah, like you said, Corey Perry really good as well. I thought Vasily Podkolzin's had a great playoff. He's impressed the heck out of me too. And again, I think it's more an indictment on Vegas that they didn't push the Oilers' defense to their limit without Ekholm. I don't see them surviving Dallas without him. But that's a good transition, James, because surviving Dallas was is something that I don't know if any teams are going to do this year. And Winnipeg tried. They did their very best, but ultimately Thomas Harley OT winner in Game 6. Where do you want to start?
Well, in first things first, we need to address one of the toughest topics you're ever going to see in sports. Mark Scheifele lost his father. His father passed away just hours before Game 7. I believe it was late the evening before. He was a game time decision whether or not he was going to play the game, and he got in there and um, he scored a goal. That was a beautiful thing, just a beautiful thing. If I were in that situation, I could not have got on that surface, on that ice surface in front of all those people and gone to war for my teammates. I could not have done that. I will always salute and respect the courage that went into this man taking to the ice and doing everything he could for his teammates. Everything he could. He played a phenomenal game. Phenomenal game. And it's the kind of thing where that heartbreak from the loss of your father and then that heartbreak from the game 7 loss, like that's I really hope his loved ones are supporting him right now. And I hope his teammates are there for him right now. I can't imagine what the guy's going through. But I will never, ever stop respecting what he did. That's an incredible showing from a guy I'm already a massive fan of. And I really do want to, I mean, thank just um, coaches and players on the opposing team on the Dallas Stars. They said so many kind things and they showed the respect and appreciation for him getting up there. It's because it's not just a respectable thing, it's an inspiring thing. You're going to go through things in life that are extremely challenging and you're not always going to be able to get up there, but you know, you might see someone do something like that and think, you know what, I can get through today. I can definitely get through today. I have this in me. We're just gonna regroup tomorrow. I got this. It was pretty remarkable, I must say.
Dallas get Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen back, but two players for the Dallas Stars, James, won them this series for me. And I'm maybe not gonna give as much credit to any of these forwards as I should, because to me, the two biggest standouts were Jake Ottinger and Thomas Harley. Connor Hellebuck's playoff struggles, obviously well documented. We talked about it last episode. He did improve in this series, but for Jake Ottinger, he outplayed him every step of the way, and that's a big, big deal, big thing for you to do for your future Olympic teammate, obviously. But obviously, Hellebuck's the Vezina winner this year. It's going to be his second consecutive, and Ottinger through 6 games was the far superior goaltender. Thomas Harley, man, he's a number one. Like he's not going to play as a number one in Dallas, but this is a number one defenseman on any team
Well,
that he can be, could be.
can you really give all of the responsibility back to Miro when Thomas Harley's been doing this the whole time?
Well, and especially not when Heiskanen's not 100%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're playing Heiskanen in like second pair minutes, seeing what he can do, and you gradually split the load over time. But like I'm willing to say Thomas Harley's the number one D now.
I don't think we're going to be saying that in December if everybody stays healthy, right?
No?
But right now, I'll for sure agree with you. Um, let's switch quickly and let's run through the coaching carousel before we move on because there's a lot of stuff I want to yap about as far as some young players getting their contracts The Memorial Cup field is set. The draft lottery happened, and we have an interview in this episode coming up with Matthew Gard, who was a centerman for the Red Deer Rebels, U18 world champion recently. But before we get to Gard, let's quickly run through coaching carousel and some management personnel. We knew Rick Tocchet was leaving Vancouver. We said that we saw the Philadelphia Flyers connection, and lo and behold, Tocchet to Philly. James, very quickly, I'll establish off the hop before I let you take it away. I'm a little bit worried that Matvey Michkov gets the Andrei Kuzmenko.
Aiden, I don't think he will because I think Tocchet, while being a respectable guy who knows his stuff in hockey and maybe even be a little bit stuck in his ways if you want to put it that way, I think he probably learned from it. And I think he's probably seeing this as like you really think Danny Briere and Keith Jones are signing him to this contract without saying, "Hey, this is this is a very valuable key piece for our team. You need to nurture this and grow this. This isn't just like, oh, here's all the players, have fun, do what you want." Like these are experienced pro guys as well who probably have the respect of Talkit that are there's a game plan here. That's my thought.
Before we move on to the general manager stuff, Vancouver to replace Tocchet, Adam Foote, who was an assistant coach. This is another one that smells a lot like Quinn Hughes's hands all over it because Quinn called Foote, quote, the best coach he's ever had. I heard Yannick Hansen hop on Sportsnet 650 here, local in Vancouver, after the Foote hiring was announced. And he said something that I have also kind of observed in how close I've been with some junior hockey teams. The associate coach is often your buddy more than your boss, and then the head coach is your boss way more than he's your buddy. That was what Yannick Hansen had kind of articulated. And his concern was that the promotion of Foote to head coach and being the boss was going to be a hindrance to the team. He also didn't have an amazing time with the Kelowna Rockets when he was the head coach there. It's not something that I'm particularly excited about, but I also understand that even if he's not fully ready for it, there was without a doubt an aspect of this that was appealing Quinn Hughes and appeasing him however they could. That's it for coaches. We got a couple GMs though.
Yeah, the Bruins, much to the dismay of Bruins fans, are bringing back GM Don Sweeney for another 2 seasons. He's locked up in that extension, but in the fans, they hate this guy. They are so done. Like you look at any comment section, I don't think I went through 4 or 5 comment sections on very loaded posts, and I didn't see one person happy. I saw one person put a clap emoji. That was the closest, and I think that might be like a satirical thing, like a Bronx cheer type beat. But man, like all that Sweeney has done up until recently, I will say, I love what their management did at the deadline. You got to purge out assets, you got to try new things, and they got new pieces. They added in Casey Middlestat. They brought in a couple draft picks. They um went and got who was it from Minnesota that they sent Brazeau for? The Kuznetsov?
Yeah, Murat Husnudinov.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great addition. That's a shot in the dark on a guy who could end up being a very key contributor in the future. These are the things you need to do. It maybe these things and a plan for the future are what kept Don Sweeney there. But what a lot of people online think is the Bruins' evil ownership group that everyone dislikes are they like Sweeney and they don't care what other people think and they just want the team to be good enough to sell seats. Whichever it is, I don't really care. I like chaos. If he's going to be terrible there or if he's going to be great there, I don't care. He is a big part of Team Canada for the Olympics. He's their assistant GM. He was the GM of Canada for the Four Nations Face-Off. I love how he put the team together for that. So all power to Don Sweeney for national team stuff. Moving on, Ken Holland takes over as GM for the LA Kings. He's already come in and said he's not going to blow things up. He is keeping head coach Jim Hiller around. Holland is taking over for Rob Blake, who was there for quite a while and honestly put together a fantastic roster. I love what Blake did with the team. And I mean, if this Kings team ends up taking the next step, it's going to be one of those things where the guy who built this team is not the guy who won with this team. And that is often the case. It's very, very often the case. Dale Talon put together that Chicago Blackhawks team that won the cup, and Stan Bowman took over right before. It's just it's how it goes. I there are several other examples that I'm sure I'll think of as soon as we're done this podcast. But Aiden, I feel that Ken Holland, even though he said he's not going to blow things up, I expect them to be a very active team on that secondary trade market, acquiring certain depth pieces that he feels are the right things for a winning team. I mean, you had them completely fold like a lawn chair in the first round against the Oilers when they were right in the driver's seat. It's like, oh, there's the finish line. Let's just drive into a river. While I do think those that wasn't all on the players or all on the coaching staff, it was a by committee thing. I didn't love it. So, I mean, you got to wonder what they're gonna do. But another year forward from Brant Clark and Quentin Byfield, that's exciting to see. Lastly, Sam Gagner is officially retired from the NHL. The guy was much beloved by his peers, fans alike. Career highlighted by that magical 8-point game back in 2012, I believe. He has joined the Senators front office. He played for their AHL affiliate team for a few games this season in Belleville. And yeah, I'm not sure what the capacity is that he's in the Sens front office with, but a lot of guys, a lot of guys from a very bad Oilers team. Andrew Cogliano's joined the Avs front office. Sam Gagner now in the Sens front office. Ryan Whitney from that team doing his things in media. Like you got to wonder, like people always said that was like the best vibes, just like the Sharks now. It was like great vibes on a terrible team to the point where they had a documentary called Oil Change, which I've talked about before, that was on NHL Network and followed this last place team around all year long. It was hilariously awesome. It was great. I really recommend anyone finds it. It's great content. But yeah, I wonder who's next from that team to go on to do something in media or in management. It's pretty cool to see. But Aiden, I think we take it now to Matthew Gard.
Yeah, let's take off. Obviously, ahead of this, huge thank you to Matthew for doing this. We thank him like crazy during as well, but might as well start us off there. If you don't know who Matthew Gard is, you'll obviously get to know him. He's currently the 37th ranked North American skater by NHL Central Scouting for the 2025 NHL Draft. Big centerman, played for the Red Deer Rebels from Winnipeg, and we will throw it to him now.
Let's take it away.
Okay, we're back, everybody, with someone who, if people who listen to this podcast actually took my advice and watched the U18 tournament that just happened, uh, you guys would have seen Matthew Gard, who's our podcast guest today, lift that U18 trophy. Matthew, I don't know if I was planning on starting there, but that's what's top of mind. So, after your second season in Red Deer, that's what we're going to start with. But I want to ask you, how's your Wednesday evening going?
Oh yeah, it's a great evening. Just came home from the golf course, so it's been a good day today.
Wait. We gotta cover the golf first. How'd you play? Because I just played possibly the worst round of my life.
It wasn't my best today. It was not my best.
Well, there's only room for improvement. That's what this
Exactly.
time of year is for.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's middle of May, so at least 3 solid months
Yeah.
of golfing ahead of you. So your golf season started a little late because after the Rebels had their season come to an end right at the end of the regular season, you got the call to come to the U18 camp, and what a tournament for the Canadians this year. Obviously, it's always a really tough competition to get to the top of. But tell me about how that team came together and tell me about your experience at that tournament.
Yeah, it was a group that came together pretty quickly as we all had to, and it was amazing. It was pretty surreal being there and representing my country. So it's just an amazing experience.
Any of your specific teammates, Aiden, you're probably about to ask the same thing. Any of your teammates, I always ask this whenever people get on these little super teams that are put together for these tournaments.
Yeah.
Any guys that just blew you away? You didn't know they were this skilled. I imagine there's guys you played with before, but guys you just had no scouting report on.
Uh, yeah, you know what? I grew up playing against and with a lot of these guys, but Coots, I don't get to play Coots a lot during the year, and he was impressive for sure.
I'll ask as well about Jack Ivankovic because this was one of the best U18 tournaments that a goaltender's had. So how confident were you guys feeling with him backstopping your team?
Yeah, it's a great feeling having him in the net. It's just confidence for the whole team, and he provides it. So it's really amazing having him in the net.
Matthew, I've had Aiden raving to me about you for, I don't know, most of the year so far. Just being like, hey, you should watch the guy. You should watch the guy. So I had the opportunity throughout the year to watch a couple games, and
Hmm.
I just have to say, like, your demeanor on the ice is like not comparable whatsoever to what I'm seeing right now. You're a pretty
Yeah,
relaxed and pretty chill guy from the
yeah.
5 10 minutes we've been talking here, and then I see you on the ice, and I don't know, you a little more intensity. I mean, how do you flip that switch? Is it quick or what?
Yeah, I think obviously away from the rink, I'm a bit of a different person than I am
Mm.
at the rink and on the ice, and it gets switched when I get there. It's home's a different thing for being at the rink, and when I'm at the rink, it's a lot more intense and ready to go. So,
So, two major elements of your game, Matthew, based on what I've seen this year, your responsibility as a two-way centerman, and then what James was referring to there, where that edge you have in your game. And if I'm looking at that Red Deer Rebels team that you've now played on for 2 consecutive years, the two guys I look at are Ollie Josephson and Kalen Lind, kind of two guys who each have those qualities. So I was just wondering, your second full season now getting to be around these guys, how much have they taught you and how much have you picked up from their experience?
yeah, you know what? I've learned so much from those guys, and they've had a lot of experiences that I've now experienced myself, and it's been really helpful along the way, and just great guys to have around me as well.
Love to hear, man. I mean, any specific moment from these guys, like a teaching moment you could pull from kind of thing, because I've talked to a handful of guys just working around junior hockey over the years, and sometimes when it's your first, second year in the league, you have a little teaching moment, whether it's one of your veteran teammates, one of your coaches. They give you that little push in a direction that you may not have taken on your own.
Yeah, with Ollie, like just the way he carries himself, it's hard to single out one moment.
Mhm.
He drives our group and is our leader, so it's just learned so much from him. And then Linder, he's a little different in a sense, but he's taken some time to teach me some things about scoring around the net and things like that. And I've just really appreciated that he's done that for me as well.
I just want to ask before we fully step away from talking about the U18 tournament, Matthew, uh, you have 3 games to end it off, and your last two 4-0 win over Slovakia in that semi, 7-0 win over Sweden in the gold medal game. So much of the last 2 games of that tournament, you guys would have been feeling very confident. But that quarterfinal against the Czechs, I want you to tell me the stress on that bench because you obviously know what could lie in front of you if you get the victory and what won't if you
Yeah.
fall in at that stage. So just tell me about that game specifically.
You know what? The tension was high. As Canada, you have to win. You cannot lose in a quarter, or else you're going home and you're probably getting made fun of on social media a little bit. So as Canada, you go into that game being confident, of course, and then you commit yourself for your country to win that game.
Before we step away from the U18s, I just have to ask about one guy, and my uncle back home on Vancouver Island, he had a couple kids billet with him this year, and
Yeah.
I was asking them about who around their age to watch, and they just said their entire lives, everyone has raved about Keaton Verhoff. What can you tell me about the kid, his defensive game, and how explosive he is?
Yeah, first of all, he's an amazing kid for a younger guy, and just where he's at right now with his game, only at 16 years old, is really impressive. How he can play the way he does and just be so poised out there. And yeah, he's fun to watch for sure.
Love it, man. Well, let's take it to this WHL season you've had. Aiden talked about the Rebels a ton this year. And I mean, it seemed like a lot of guys you played with took a lot of steps forward. Can you speak a little bit to the development among the group, coaching staff? What were some real highlights this year about taking those steps?
Yeah, I think some highlights were that one, we came together as a group, and I think all of us as younger guys really took a step in the right direction. Just whether that being adding things to your game or just maturing as a person, I think we're all headed in the right direction for the next few years here.
A lot of guys on that Rebels team that are younger now, right? We saw the team when it became clear that playoffs were kind of looking less and less likely. The team sold off some of the older guys and now looks like a much younger core. Obviously, you know, the possibility that Josephson and Lind end up in the AHL next year is pretty high. So moving into next season with now a much younger group than you started with, can you talk about maybe if you take it upon yourself to have a leadership role moving forward?
Yeah, I think for the next year and the next coming years, I think I'm gonna have to be a leader on this team and just continue to grow on that. And it's an exciting group of young guys, so I think we're gonna have some success coming down the road. And I'm very proud to be a leader of that group.
That's awesome, man. I gotta ask too, just because the WHL has been a hell of a league my entire life, but it feels like in the past 3, 4 years, it's just phenom after phenom you're having to play against every night. And with your role as a pretty strong two-way guy with a lot of size and a good edge to his game, just how can you defend against these up and coming superstars? They're so explosive. They come at you flying. What can you do against these guys, really?
Some nights, you know what, there's not a whole lot you can do, but other times I think just it's important to take the body and just try and be physical and just keep it simple against these guys, because then sometimes they might not know what to do.
Definitely, man. Is there, I mean, you don't have to name any names, but is there anyone that comes to mind when you think of, damn, I don't want to play against this guy tonight. I need to figure out how to do this?
Yeah, you know what, it's hard to play against McKenna some nights because you know
Yeah.
he's good for one or two, so
Mhm.
it's hard to play against him for sure.
So we're now about 6 weeks out, and I don't need to tell you that we're 6 weeks out from the NHL draft. I can imagine that we're gonna have some listeners here that are listening to this interview after their team potentially picks you up. So
Yeah.
I can talk all season about this kid on the Rebels who and assess your game, but I don't think anybody wants to hear me yap about that anymore. They're gonna want to hear you talk about that. So if you're selling yourself to fans of a team that just picked you up in maybe the second round, I've got a funny feeling it'll be above that, but neither here nor there. What are you saying about yourself? What kind of player? What's that team getting?
Yeah, I'm a big player with a lot of skill and an edge to his game, and I think I have a very high ceiling, and there's no limit to what I might be at the next level.
Love the confidence. I love the confidence of the high ceiling because obviously, as the years go on, it's teams looking at the big centermen as exactly that, those high ceiling players. And Matthew, as you started this year, was that thought in your head going into your now what would have been your sophomore WHL season? Was that ceiling something that you thought, yeah, I can aspire to this and I can take the next step this year?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's something that's always been there, and I just seem to keep doing my thing and keep on getting better. So high ceiling for sure.
Now we're talking about you being a big center and you being a kid from Winnipeg. You're probably watching NHL playoffs and you're watching the Jets captain Adam Lowry. What can you take away from a guy with a game like that, a guy with that kind of responsibility when you're watching?
Yeah, I try and role model my game or model my game after him. I think there's so much to learn from him as a player and as a leader as well. Just the way he drives the boat there, or steers the ship in a sense, where he's a difference maker every single night for that team.
He's a total pro, man. With a role model like that, if you can do what you can to emulate it, I can't wait to see what you're gonna do. I mean, just staying on that topic though, are there any other guys around the NHL, around hockey that you watch pretty closely and like to take things away from?
Yeah, I like to watch Boldy for sure. I think there's a lot of skill in his game, and it's fun to watch. And then another player would be Fantilli. I think I just love the way he plays too.
Me too, man. Me too. I've been such a huge fan ever since I heard about him. It's
Yeah.
crazy to watch. It's like I want to get the popcorn out and watch really closely when he's on the ice.
No doubt, yeah.
So, plenty of teams, Matthew, would have been talking to you both during the WHL season and then at and after the U18s. So, can you tell me about some of the experiences with connecting with the NHL teams and even whether or not it feels a little bit surreal at this point to have the draft so close?
Yeah, to sum it up, it's been pretty cool. Meeting with NHL scouts on the phone or after games or Zoom calls and all that stuff. I think surreal is the right word, and it's exciting. It's something that doesn't happen to everybody, and it's an honor for it to be happening to myself.
I don't know if you can think back to it, but how did it feel with the first one specifically? Because I feel like if I were in your situation, that would catch me right off guard. Like, oh, okay, this is happening now.
Yeah, you know what? It kind of hit me like a truck in my mind. It's like it's for real now. So something that I had to adapt to in a way.
Obviously, I know what the hockey player answer is. I've asked this question and I've got this answer that it'll be an honor to be drafted by any NHL team. But growing up in Winnipeg, how would it feel to have the Jets call your name?
Yeah, it'd be a good feeling for them to maybe select me, but I think anywhere that wants me is where I want to go.
Textbook, and it's exactly what I want to hear, man. Exactly what I want to hear. I'm not gonna ask you a question you can answer right now, but I'm gonna get Aiden to reach out to you after the draft,
Okay.
after the combine, after all the interviews, and we're not gonna talk about it on the pod, but I want to hear what maybe the silliest thing you get asked at the combine
Okay.
or any of these draft interviews is, because
Okay.
I've heard things over the years where a guy is just getting roasted and then he gets asked, all right, well, what's your favorite kind of cookie?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, sometimes they want to see you on your toes, you know?
Yeah.
You're probably gonna hear something weird, but
I hope
I'm really
so.
excited for you, man. I really am.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you know what, Matthew? I would consider it a personal favor if we got like a top three. That would be huge. I'd love it.
Yeah, like a top three right now.
Well, you know what? Hey, if you've got a top three right now, that I love finishing off on this.
Sure, why not? I think one that's got to be up there is I was asked what kind of vehicle I am. That's, that was a good one.
Do you
Um,
remember what you said?
I think I said I was some kind of reliable truck or something like that.
I
Can't remember.
I think that's a safe one. That's a safe answer.
Yeah. Um, I'm not going to get into the team with this one, but there's a question about maybe fighting a guy in camp if I were to get drafted there. So that was a big scary guy as well. So that was an interesting question. And then I think the part two of that question, or the part one, I guess I should say, is that like the if I would let this guy beat me in a race or something like that in the camp as well.
Those are some great questions. And man, thank you so much for the time. Like, obviously, I know between between the scouts and then between the people like us that just want to yap at you,
Yeah,
you got a lot of people who are tugging your ear right now. So I really appreciate you parking some time for us today.
of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Best luck moving forward, man. You're gonna kill it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed that interview just as much as we did. We thank Matthew a ton for hopping on with us. It was a lot of fun chatting with him. And Aiden, I felt like we got him a little chatty. You know, a lot of younger guys, They come in slow, and they do a phenomenal job of giving the smart answers. They're true young professionals in the making, but I felt like we got them a little silly and a little chatty, and that's a win for me.
Yeah, and my I do appreciate you specifically pulling out a question akin to the what you asked him about some of the sillier questions he's
Mm,
been asked, not necessarily by, people like us who are the silly people in hockey, the media, but by teams that are thinking about bringing him in come late June in that draft.
totally. And while we're talking draft, Aiden, the NHL draft lottery happened, and it was one for the ages. Now, the Islanders, big winners of the evening. Aiden, I'll get you to pull up the rest of the results in a little bit here. Often with the draft lottery, the team with the best odds, they do get shafted. It's just the way it is. Colorado, famously, after the record-setting worst year of the modern era, they dropped from 1 to 4. They did get Cale Makar, but at the time it was viewed as a loss. But yeah, Islanders this time, jumping, I believe, what, 10, 12 spots, something like that.
I thought it
It
was
was
11, yeah.
something, yeah, 11, something just gross. Now, this is a team that was fairly close to making playoffs for much of the season. And now this is something that could completely turn their organization around. But this isn't something completely out of the ordinary. The Devils were doing this a little while back. This happens. This isn't something that's rigged. Now, there's people all over the internet who are saying because the Islanders are now not getting an all-star game, Gary Bettman and the NHL threw him a bone with this. That's complete BS. Get over it. Okay? The draft lottery happens. We do a draft lottery in fantasy. Sometimes you get screwed. It's just the way of the road. It's a numbers game. You ever play video games and hear RNG, random number game? You're not always gonna win, even if you have the best chances. Now, Islanders have kind of their pick of the litter now. I mean, Matthew Schaefer projected #1 overall. Incredibly smooth skating left-hand defenseman, all signs to being a completely dominant, true #1. Michael Misa, one of, if not the best player his age for the majority of his life. True game breaker in my eyes, incredible goal scoring ability. And when I thought he had really, really lost a step in comparison to his peers, he took that and ran with it this season, having one of the better draft eligible years I've ever seen from a guy in the CHL. James Haggins, when you watch him, he's like a robot. He is cerebral. He is connected to the game. One of the more intelligent centers for his age I've ever really seen. You can teach a lot of different skills and abilities, but you can't teach that sense. And that's why all signs point towards him being a true #1 center as well. Now, you look at that Islanders roster. You have a Bo Horvat, a Matt Barzell, an Ilya Sorokin, and a Noah Dobson. Really, to me, no pieces for the future beyond that. A couple decent-ish boomer bust prospects, namely Cole Yzerman, but I don't really see a way that the Islanders could win as is. Now, this is where you could totally turn things around. It's a big, big decision for their franchise. You could take the best player available, which is seemingly is Schaefer. But Aiden, the Toronto Maple Leafs, with Phil Kessel as their best player, which I think Matthew Barzell being the best player on the Islanders is very akin to. You can't win a cup like that. I don't care how good your blue line is going to end up being. I don't think Schaefer's the right choice. Now, Michael Misa, true game breaker. True game breaker. I think he could really be that guy for this Islanders team. And as the Rangers slowly fall off of a cliff in dramatic car rolling down the hill style, um, he's the kind of guy that could just start burying them in first rounds year after year. It would be phenomenal. Now, here's where it gets interesting. #3 ranked James Haggins. He's from Long Island. So the year that they jump up the draft lottery, there's a kid born and raised on Long Island, ready for the taking, who notably was ranked #1 overall earlier this season. Aiden, I know you're sitting there thinking, and we talked about this a little bit before we hit the record button, but put the don't be stupid pick Schaefer aside and tell me why they could take Haggins over Misa or why not.
Safety. James Hagen's floor is way higher, in my opinion, than Michael Misa's. I think you're gonna see Michael Misa either be like uh, somebody like a Mitch Marner who can pop up for 100 plus points in the regular season, but again, the kid is 17 years old. I'm saying this about a 17-year-old child right now. But
Mhm.
when I watch Misa, he doesn't scream big game to me. He doesn't scream big moment to me. James Hagens actually does. Like,
And he already has.
yeah, I love his game probably a little bit more than Misa. They both have so much improving to do. Like
Oh, yeah.
they're both very raw prospects. Um, I could absolutely see the argument to take Hagens over Misa. James, if they're looking at not taking Schaefer, because again, I do think that's the right pick for them specifically, but San Jose, with the amount of forwards they have in their organization, like the best defensive prospect they have is Sam Dickinson, and then it's a little bit of a fall off after that. So San Jose at two, if the Islanders are in any way leaning towards not taking Schaefer, I think they should be doing everything they can to get Kasper Halttunen from the Sharks.
You think the Sharks would give them Haltonen to jump up one spot when they're probably perfectly happy with anything?
I don't know because I'm not sure how happy they would be adding a Misa or a Hagens to that group
Oh,
when
I think they'd be stoked.
yeah, and to me, and again, I get excited about young teams and young players. Like I'm watching Macklin Celebrini at the Worlds right now, and like he's playing so well, and I love so much of the Sharks team. And I'm jumping the gun because I'm looking at Schaefer and I'm saying, you get him, you're done. And I'm not saying you're done as in like this team wins the Stanley Cup in 2026, but I'm saying that the rest of Mike Greer's job, in my opinion, becomes filling out the blanks. Because when it's
Yeah.
Eklund, when it's Celebrini, when it's Smith, when it's
Tarov.
Schaefer, Dickinson, Askarov, Eklund, like there are so many studs on this Sharks team already. And I think that true number one defenseman is what I don't see in their horizon. And for that reason, if the Islanders are thinking about dropping down, like I would peg San Jose to be all over trying to move up and get Schaefer at one.
Totally understandable. I can't wait to see how it goes. Honestly, I love the early off-season stuff. This is like this is my reality TV. Some people are freaking out over reality TV stuff. Who said this? Who did this to that person? This is NHL off-season stuff early on in the chaotic part and the build up towards it. That's my reality TV. So I can't wait to see what happens with it. And honestly, I jumped the gun a little bit with it when playoffs are still going on. But Aiden, we're talking young players. Let's move on to a couple who are bridging the gap and getting ready to start their NHL careers. Take it away with Vancouver's big rookie signing.
Yeah, the question marks around Tom Vilander have been settled. This is a guy to me that's like a projects long term. I think he is an excellent two-way number three guy. Like he's going to end up playing top pairing minutes in Vancouver with Quinn Hughes. But as far as what he could be, I totally see. I totally like I'm a huge Noah Dobson fan. I don't think he's as good offensively as Noah Dobson, but I think he's Walmart Noah Dobson in a way. Really smart, covers the zone well. Apparently, it was pennies in the grand scheme of things, bonuses wise, that was keeping this from getting done, which again is just another joke in the Vancouver Canucks organization of jokes. But they do finally get it done. He's not the only interesting ELC though, James, and somebody that I feel like I've definitely yapped about on this podcast before. 21-year-old Danila Yurov inks his contract with the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota took him in the first round in 2022. This guy last year was absolutely lights out. He was on a line with Nikita Grabenkin and Maxim Karpov in his Metallurg 2023-24 team that won the KHL. Now, Karpov left for another KHL team. Grabenkin split his season between the Toronto Marlies and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms because he was part of the Scott Lawton trade. Yurov took a step back and he went from 21 goals and 49 points in 62 games to 13 goals and 25 points in 46 games. I would have been significantly more confident last summer after the year he had in saying that Minnesota was going to get an immediate impact player. I'm a little bit less confident in that now, but I still see this guy's future. He is a very, very intelligent offensive player. He does very, very well at driving the play into the offensive zone. It is so easy when he's breaking down the right wing to see the zone entry and chance generation. So Wild fans are very excited about Zeev Boyum, and I think won't take too long to be pretty excited about Yurov once they see him in action too.
Love to hear it, man. Memorial Cup. Let's go there.
Oh man, that Medicine Hat Spokane series did not disappoint.
Insane.
Yeah, it didn't disappoint at all.
Wait, did you watch any of the broadcast?
Yes.
Nate Thompson on that broadcast, phenomenal. Loved hearing his call. He was doing color. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Nate Thompson's a great guy.
Yeah.
Every indication, every time you've heard him talk post NHL, it's a ton of fun.
He
The
hops on with the
only
empty netters guys really often.
yeah, I think you told me that last summer when we were in Kelowna at the same time because
Oh, that I saw him outside of the
yeah,
craft in Kelowna.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I said, "You look really familiar," and he went, "Yeah, man, I was just in GQ," and then he like smiled and walked away.
Um, the only complaint I have about this series is that it was too short. Spokane won game two in Medhat, but it's Tigers in five in the end. Berkeley Catton and Andrew Cristall had record-setting seasons with the Chiefs, but the big deal here is Gavin McKenna for a couple reasons. Number one, obviously, we're talking generational talent. He puts up 129 points in 56 games and then posts a ridiculous 38 points in 16 playoff games to lead them to the championship. Um, Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard both never played in the Memorial Cup, and the CHL didn't like that. There was
They
a
hated that.
yeah, there was a lot of speculation that both Saginaw and Medicine Hat were ostensibly going to be given Memorial Cups for the sole purpose of Misa and McKenna to have them in their draft year. Neither of those things happened. Saginaw ended up losing out, I believe, to Rimouski, and then Kelowna won for next year. So
Mm.
it's really good for both the CHL, the Memorial Cup, and obviously for Gavin McKenna that he's there and he gets a chance to play in the biggest junior hockey event outside of IHF competition.
Definitely, man. And he's garnering attention from everyone. And we're getting to the point where people I work with are asking about him, where I hear people talking about him in a like hockey apparel store. It's getting crazy and the hype's really reaching a high.
I'm going to quickly speed run. If you want to, I implore you, if you're a hockey fan and have time to throw in a Memorial Cup game, watch that tournament. It's awesome. I'm going to quickly run through the teams, the players that I want to spotlight. I don't watch enough QMJHL. I would love to. I don't have the time. But the Rimouski Oceanic have Eriks Matejko on their team. He's the guy worth watching. He was Latvia's best player at the World Juniors. You'll remember he had 2 goals and the shootout winner against Canada in Latvia's win. Great player. Caleb Denye plays for the Moncton Wildcats. They won the QMJHL this year. Denye would not be shocked, James, if he ends up a top 4 pick. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but if we don't see him off that draft board by 7, I'll be shocked. He's a very, very
I
solid
have him at
prospect.
6 currently.
Yeah. London, a lot of players. Obviously, I just talked about Sam Dickinson. They have Oliver Bonk on the defense core as well. First round pick of the Oilers, Sam O'Reilly, just brought up Casper Haltonen, and Easton Cowan is still doing his thing on that London Knights team. In addition to McKenna on Medicine Hat, Tanner Molendyke's an excellent defenseman. You're going to see Ryder Ritchie in the NHL at some point, but the guy aside from McKenna that everybody I think needs to watch in this tournament is Caden Lindstrom because Caden Lindstrom has been injured all season long. He did not play a single WHL game until the final, in which he played four. He was picked fourth overall by Columbus last year, and he still missed so much time. He only played 32 regular season games in the dub last year. The breakout that Adam Fantilli has had, I want people to watch Caden Lindstrom in the Memorial Cup and think about the fact that the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to have Fantilli and Lindstrom as their number one and number two centers. They are forces of nature, both of them. Caden Lindstrom is 6'4", 220 pounds, and skates like he's like better, as good as anybody I've ever seen in the WHL. He was so impressive to me last year. It, there's a chance that it stunted his development, right? We saw that through COVID. I've talked about that like crazy, that the development curves in some of these young players right now are all over the place. But I so truly believe in this kid from Dawson Creek.
Isn't it
Watch him
the
in the
thing that
Memorial
Jarmo
Cup.
Kekalainen was going to bat for him over every other player? Like it is, I remember reading somewhere, and this is not attributed to anyone. This is just speculation at this point because I can't source it. Was that Columbus's scouting team did not want to go for Cade Lindstrom whatsoever. They were scared off of him for whatever reason. It was the injury, I believe. And Kekalainen swore up and down, this is my guy. And he is no longer there. And he's going to end up being another GM of a team that he built and assembled all the pieces for, but wasn't there for the rewards.
Last year, Chicago felt like they needed the defenseman Lev Shinov at two. They did apparently a lot to get fourth overall from Columbus to draft Ivan Demidov.
Yeah.
And Columbus was always taking Lindstrom. It was no from Kekalainen. No, 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 no. Because Montreal was going to take Demidov at five. The only hope that Chicago had was to get Columbus's pick on the floor. And they desperately tried. They couldn't. Um, Lastly, James, you watch much World Championships? The group stage is officially over.
I watch bits and pieces of a handful of games. It's tough with my work schedule and with what time games are on. But I lucked out this weekend and I got to see a very tight 2-1 game where they lost in a shootout against Finland. And I got to watch a fair chunk of it. And you know what? Such good vibes. That is some of the happiest hockey you ever see. And you always hear these guys they get so close. They have the best times together. Quick shout out to Ryan O'Reilly for playing the most games for Canada, the World Championship ever. He's had the misfortune of playing for quite a few bad teams, and he was always a guy who wanted to win. So early on in his career, playing for Colorado and then Buffalo, he pretty much always ended up going. And you hear from guys who were part of Hockey Canada that said he was always just such a gift to have there. He would organize team dinners, he would bring his guitar, he would get everyone together, do team bonding exercises, and that's exactly what we're loving to see right now with this World Championship team for Canada that has Nathan MacKinnon, Sidney Crosby, Marc-Andre Fleury, even after just retiring from the NHL, came out for that. Young Bucks like Celebrini and Fantilli, Kent Johnson, they're having the time of their lives. And, this is a great thing for the young guys who eventually want to play for Canada at the Olympics. Jordan Binnington's there. They're like, and Binner's happily playing backup to Fleury. Like, so cool. So cool. It's a really fun tournament. I just saw a draft eligible top 10 prospect Porter Martone has gone to join the team after Bo Horvat is left with an injury. Amazing opportunity for him as well. You notice at this tournament, it's a great time to be able to see. The US will bring guys who are still in college, haven't played an NHL game. Both sides will bring guys who have no pro experience, and it's awesome.
The Americans' best player so far has been Frank Nazar, who has 56 games of NHL experience.
Yeah,
He's been the best player on that
amazing.
team after being one of the best players for their 2024 World Junior win too.
The
Um,
States has a goalie to watch. I believe his name is Hampton Slukinski.
oh, that is a name.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
He
Um,
take a look at his college stats and you will be amazed.
Canada won Group A with the 5-3 win over Sweden today. That was in jeopardy after that loss to Finland, as you mentioned. Yeah, you touched on the Olympic thing. Travis Sanheim and Travis Konechny are both really, really making their cases to be on this team again at this Worlds. They're playing excellent. Macklin Celebrini on a line with Sidney Crosby has been magic. um, uh, James, you know what my favorite part of that has been?
Hmm.
Celebrini kind of looks almost as smart of a hockey player as Sidney Crosby. And Sidney Crosby
That's
might
crazy to
be
say.
and Sidney Crosby might be the smartest hockey player I've ever seen. So the IQ on this Celebrini kid, if you didn't believe James and I yapping about it for the last 2 years, watch it because it's there, clear and obvious for everybody to see.
Anyone who likes collectibles, the top prospect in hockey cards from the season, the cheapest time always to buy them, unless they completely fall off a cliff after their rookie season, is about late July, early August, because we're in the doldrums of the off season. We stop caring about hockey for a bit. Macklin Celebrini young gun rookie card peaked at about $240. On average, you can get them between 180 and 200 right now. I guarantee late July, early August, you could pick one up for 130, 120. Go get one and then watch it grow by $100. It'll be hilarious. Enjoy.
Huge from Switzerland in the other group. They lost 5-4 in their opener to Czechia and rattled off 6 straight wins, all in regulation after that to win the group, including a 3-0 win over the Americans. The US in the end finished second. Czechia and Denmark move on as well. Our quarterfinal matchups are set. Canada gets Denmark, Switzerland gets Austria. It'll be interesting to see. Probably Switzerland get through, but one of those two underdog teams are going to end up getting to the semis. Sweden and Czechia and the US and Finland, both of the 2 versus 3 matchups are definitely worth a watch as well. Teams get reseeded come the semifinals. Shout out a couple players on that Czech team. First of all, David Pastrnak, 14 points in 7 games. Easily could have been one of those guys to turn it down, right? He's usually playing deep into the playoffs. He's usually a guy that like usually better things than this for him. So for him to go and for him to play as well as he's playing is huge. Nathan McKinnon's got 7 goals. It's tied for the tournament lead with Elias Lindholm. But the other Czech guy I wanted to shout out was 39-year-old Roman Chervenka. You'll remember him, James, from a very brief stint with the Calgary Flames. But this is one of those players. Vadim Chipachev's another one we've talked about. Kaspars Daugavins, the Latvian. Patrick Thoresen, the Norwegian guy, who huge in their own countries. Chervenka was a very, very good Czech player for a very long time. Played in Czechia, played in Russia, played in Switzerland most recently.
One
Before
of the best
2020.
European pro players ever.
Yeah, and so huge that this 39-year-old is not only playing again for Czechia, he's been one of their best players in the tournament. He's third in tournament scoring right now. And again, we've talked about all these young players like Sidney Crosby, 4 goals and 11 points. Roman Chervenka, 5 goals and 13 points, right? Like huge. He's getting first line minutes with Pastrnak, but it's a great showing from him so far. Jordan Binnington and Marc-Andre Fleury have played the exact same number of minutes and have sparkling numbers as well. Save for the fact that Fleury went to the shootout. That's the only difference they've had. Otherwise, they've both played bang on the same. Binnington, 1.00 goals against. Fleury, 0.97 goals against. Awesome from both of them. Binnington will be at the Olympics. Fleury won't, but great experience for them to tandem this one out. Hopefully, Canada continues strong.
Aiden, we've gone a bit long here, so I'm gonna say for our listeners, we are gonna begrudgingly cut the movies and or TV shows and trivia, but I think we hit it hard next pod.
I've got one for next pod.
Beautiful. How about we couch a good chunk of time for the entertainment and silliness next pod?
Yeah, and I'm super into the TV show I'm watching, so that's good. And I'll watch more of it too.
Beautiful. Well, Aiden, I unless you've got anything else, I think that's all she wrote. So without further ado, let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.